What up, what up, what up, Lakers Nation? Welcome back to Bleacher Report for Lakers Daily. Here we are, man. We're here back with another one. Remember, just a programming note, I know the Lakers are out of the playoffs, well out of the playoffs, enjoying Cancun. However, but just a reminder, we are here every day of the week, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. So make sure you tap in for all things Lakers. Get your daily dose right here on exclusively on Bleacher Report. Man. What a playoffs, huh? What a playoffs. We got some more eliminations. Golden State, they're in Cancun now. Of course, the other night, the Cavs, they're in Cancun. And man, let's get past this thing and let's get to the off season, all the way into the off season. Things are going to go fast. We already had the draft lottery. We know all the backlash with that. The Dallas Mavs got that first pick. So what will they do? There's tons of news circulating around Giannis, or rumors. Now they're saying a report came out saying that he wants to stay in the Eastern Conference. I don't know. I just saw another report from Jake Fisher saying that there's still a strong possibility that Giannis will stay put in Milwaukee. So things are shaping up to be a crazy offseason. We just don't know. We got to wait and see. But it's all going to be here real soon, man. Once we push past June, the NBA Finals start June 5th, actually. So once we get there, things are really going to pick up. We have a potential elimination tonight, although I think that series is going 7. But OKC can wrap things up. They're back in Denver for Game 6. Of course, they're up 3-2. So we'll see, man. And we're talking about all this because it all is going to dictate our Los Angeles Lakers. You know, what's going to happen with the Lakers. All these teams, they're going to get better. You know, how deep can these guys go? How deep can these teams go? And how much better can they get? You know, the Lakers have to be on par with all these guys. We lost in the first round in 5 games. So there's a lot of work to be done. And again, these teams are going to get better just off default. These teams are young. These teams in the playoffs now, they're young. They're athletic. And that's just something that the Lakers don't have. They don't have that youthfulness. They don't have that athleticism, if you will. So we got to match this stuff. So all eyes are on these playoffs. We're still trying to gauge how our Lakers look against all these other teams. These teams have been physical. You know, this NBA has been really physical. Are the Lakers physical enough? So there's a lot to address, and they just don't have a ton of assets to do so. Cap space, they don't have any this offseason. Right now, the only thing we have available is our taxpayer MLE. That's at $5.1 million. Now, that could change depending on how generous LeBron James is, but is he going to be 16 to $20 million generous? We just don't know, because that's what he would have to give up, to open up that full MLE, and that 5.1 million becomes 14 million. So is LeBron going to do that? I just don't know. I don't know if there's guys, free agents in this draft, in this free agency class that he's willing to do that for. So the reports, from the Athletic, Johan Buva of the Athletic is reporting that LeBron, is probably not going to give back a lot of money. He may give back a little bit, so they don't hit that second apron. But in regards to freeing up that 16 to 20 million needed to open up a full MLE spot, I just don't know. I don't know. So what do the Lakers do? Again, only $5.1 million. We talk about it all the time. We all know the Lakers need a big, but they also need some athleticism and defense at that wing and at that point of attack spot, right? A point of attack guard, if you will, defensive-minded guard, if you will. So how do the Lakers get that? Well, it's going to have to be via trade. So the Lakers do have $70 million, around $70 million in expiring contracts. And that's what they're going to have to use to pretty much get a deal done, right? And you look at some of the guys who are out there. I'm just going to say this realistically. I think that what the big that we'll end up with, I think that's going to be Nick Claxton. That's a young rebuilding team. He makes the most money on that team, so he's the guy they're going to try to move out. And I know a lot of people aren't thrilled with that. They say, "Oh, is he worth it?" Blah blah. He's making around $25 million. I mean, he's young. He's young. He's athletic. He can be that vertical lob threat. He can be that rim protector, that last line of defense, and that's what you need around Luka Doncic. Of course, you got to go all in building around Luka, right? And you got to get Luka a center. You have to get Luka a center. So Nick Claxton, Luka may unlock him. He's been playing on a bad team there, so I take it with a grain of salt. The way he's looked. Put him on a good team. Put him on a team with Luka Doncic. We've seen Luka elevate everyone. Now, I do believe he's an upgrade over Jackson Hayes. I believe that for sure. Is that saying much? I don't really know. But they have to do something. Rob knows they have to do something. Rob said he's going to be aggressive in doing something. So, I think that's the most realistic option. However, I want to throw another big name out there. You see the title of this video, Jarrett Allen in Cleveland. You have him, you have Evan Mobley there, and the pairing of those two is just not working, right? I think there's some other things that's not working there, but the pairing of those two in your front court, I just don't know how sustainable it is because, again, they're going home in the second round. And I know they had a lot of injuries, but Mobley, I know he missed, I think, game 3 that was. He missed one of the games, but for the most part, he was relatively healthy. He contributed. I think he's your big moving forward. He's your big of the future. He won Defensive Player of the Year, put up amazing numbers. So I think he's your guy moving forward. So I just wonder if they look to make some changes. Again, another second round exit. And this year it was even worse than last year because this year they won 64 games. The number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The national media was all on Cleveland, right? All on Cleveland. And they go home in the second round. And the series wasn't even close. It wasn't close at all. So I wonder if he's someone that can be gettable, right? If that's someone that they may look to move. I also think that Darius Garland, I don't know how that works with Donovan Mitchell. I don't know, but we don't really have much need of him when you got Luka. But Jarrett Allen can definitely check a box. He would be a knock out of the park home run. I love Jarrett Allen. I've been wanting him for a minute on the Lakers. He's only making $20 million this year. So in regards to stacking the salaries to get him, you can definitely get him. Now, Jarrett Allen will require Austin Reaves. You're not going to get him for just expiring contracts of Gabe or any of those guys, right? Maxi Kleber, any of those guys. They're going to need a legit asset in return. And that would be Austin Reaves. Now, how does Austin fit in Cleveland, right? They're going to lose. They may lose some guys like Ty Jerome. He's an unrestricted free agent. So I don't know if they're going to bring him back. Austin gives you some size. He can be a playmaker. He can play off ball, on ball, off ball, whatever you need him to do. So depending on what they do with Darius Garland, depending on if they lose Ty Jerome, maybe Austin can slide in next to Donovan Mitchell, right? So it would take everything we have asset wise. It'll be Austin. It'll be Dalton. Dalton's gonna have to be in that deal. Give them some offense off the bench. You got to throw in your pick, and you got to throw in all your pick swaps, right? My question is, if he's on the open market, if they shop him, they probably can get a lot better than what the Lakers can offer. Again, Cleveland, they're a win now team, right? They 64 wins. They're a win now team, so they're not rebuilding or any of that. So does Austin how attractive is Austin to them, right? That's the major question here. And again, this is just if they even want to move off Jarrett Allen. They may like that pairing, right? They may like both of those guys at the front court. But I'm just looking at it from the outside looking in. I haven't spoken to any Cleveland folk, but I'm outside looking in. It's just not working because they're not winning. they're losing games. So, and you have Evan Mobley there. So I think they'll be straight if they were to give up Allen. But Allen would be absolutely perfect with Luka Doncic, right? Oh man, you talk about a pairing. He would by far be the best big that Luka's played with. Um, maybe you say Porzingis or whatever, but I'm talking about like the style of big that Allen is. Man, the talent is there. You talk about the vertical lob threat. Check, man. That man can jump out the gym. You could throw that ball up anywhere, and he goes and gets it. Right? He goes and gets it. The rim protector. Check. He's definitely a legit rim protector, one of the best in the league. Again, he's just playing next to Evan Mobley, so I think Evan Mobley at times may dim his light a little bit. So again, that's what we're talking about. Do they move him? You talk about rebounder. Check. I mean, he's going to get you double-digit rebounds every night. And any given night, he can go for 25, 15. That's how talented he is. That's how good he is. So I would love me some Jarrett Allen. But again, a lot of things would have to happen, for us to land him. But I'm just throwing out a big name. I know I said Nick Claxton is probably the reality, but I'm throwing out big names because Rob said they're going to be aggressive. They're going to be aggressive in getting a name, getting a starting caliber center. And you look at Austin Reaves, they clearly only want to move Austin, for a true star, right? A true rotational star, not a gap filling center, right? Or a gap filler big, a legit certified starter, right? Low key star, and that's what Allen is. So again, to even look at a trade like that, it's going to start with Austin Reaves. But is that enough? Is that enough? But man, if they can land a Jarrett Allen and pair that with Luka Doncic, whew, you talk about excited, man. I'll be super excited. Now let's talk about Austin. Austin. He's the topic of every conversation surrounding the Lakers. And I mean, rightfully so. Austin, great year, right? Great year. He stepped in big time for the Lakers when guys were out, when AD was out, when LeBron was out, when Luka was out, right? The one constant has been Austin Reaves. He's been there with we completely turned the roster over. But Austin has been there with D'Lo. Austin was there. Post D'Lo, Austin was there. With AD and Bron, Austin was there. With Bron and Luka, Austin was there. So he's been the constant for the Los Angeles Lakers. He's been great. Absolutely love his story. Undrafted free agent. He's gotten better and better and better year in, year out. So shout out to Austin. Love Austin. He's a fan favorite here. I'd hate to see Austin go. But in order to significantly improve this roster or put pieces around Luka, to get someone good back, you're going to have to include an Austin Reaves, right? To get a big name back, you're going to have to include an Austin Reaves. You're not going to get a big name back for a Maxi Kleber expiring or Gabe Vincent expiring or Rui Hachimura expiring. You're just not going to get that. And let's talk about Austin contract. We speak about it all the time, and we'll continue to do so because it's of significance here, right? Austin is a major piece for this Los Angeles Lakers team. Whether they keep him and he's your guy paired with Luka moving forward, or if he's just here another year, he's a major piece. So we're going to continue to talk about him. So again, if you don't know, he has he's eligible to be extended this summer. But the max the Lakers can offer is 4 years, $89, $90 million in that ballpark. You look at Austin's numbers, he's not going to pick up that. He's going to decline that. He's not going to pick that up, which means he's going to go into this year as his final year, right? He has a player option next summer. So he's going to go into this season as his final season, where he'll opt out next summer and test free agency. And in free agency, you're looking at his numbers, he can command anywhere from 30 to 35 to $40 million a year. It could jump that high, right? If he's putting up these numbers. So is that something that the Lakers want to marry themselves to? Do they want to pay Austin that much money? One of the things that makes Austin so great, again, he's been great on the court, but something that makes him even greater is his salary. He's only making $14 million, right? It's the biggest bargain in all the NBA. So that's not going to be the case moving forward. You can do that one more year, this year, the 2026 season, but next summer, that won't be the case anymore, right? Now, I'd be shocked. I'd be really surprised if he did, accept the Lakers' $90 million offer. But again, I just don't think so. But it is a lot of money. He is an undrafted free agent, so maybe he doesn't want to enter free agency or whatever. But his agency and all that, they're not pushing for that. They're going to push for him to opt out and to test the open market. Now, mind you, if you get to that point, the Lakers can match it. But that's just a tightrope. We've seen this a few times where the Lakers lose guys for nothing, and he's just a piece you cannot do. You go back to Alex Caruso. We just did that. Alex Caruso walked for absolutely nothing. And Austin, we cannot allow him to walk for nothing. So it's a risk. It's a gamble. Now you got him. The thing is, you got him in your ball club. He's in your franchise. He's in your facilities so you can kind of gauge what he's doing. Or what he's thinking of. You can kind of talk to his agents and all that. But still, it's still a big risk, just losing a guy for nothing. And we spoke of Alex Caruso. You go back even further, what about Dwight Howard? Back in the day, you lost Dwight for nothing and other players. So that'll be a devastating blow to the Lakers to lose Austin for nothing. So do they look to trade him? Do they look to trade him in the summertime? Again, if they do, they want something of significance back, right? They don't just want a couple of role players. They want an all-star, right? An all-star caliber level type player back. So, and rightfully so. But if you're other teams, you're not giving that up with an Austin Reaves, anything like that. You're going to have to mention Austin Reaves. So he may be our greatest asset. He just might be, right? Talent-wise, by far he is. But on the flip side of that, a team for a team to do a deal for Austin, to give up, a big piece for Austin, they really, really have to love Austin Reaves, right? I mean, because not only are they giving up pieces for him, but they're going to have to pay Austin what he wants, right? No team's going to trade. They're not going to rent him. They're not going to give up big pieces just to rent him. They got to be in love with him and want him on their team moving forward. And that being said, they're going to have to pony up the money. We talked about the 30 or 35 or 40, even $40 million salary. They're going to have to be willing to give that up. So they really have to be in love with an Austin Reaves, right? So we'll see. We'll see how all that plays out. Me personally, I don't think they move him in the summer. I think they'll go into the season, see how things look, see how him and Luka looks. Because you do have the trade deadline. If anything, if it's not working, or if they're getting more wind that he's going to command much more than they're willing to give him, then they could look to move him at their trade deadline. But when camp begins and the season opens, I believe Austin Reaves will be on the roster. Unless something just opens up, something crazy opens up. Again, I never say never, but maybe Giannis says, I want to be in LA. And if that's the case, then yeah, Austin is going to be included in that deal. Or, Jarrett Allen, as we just spoke about, maybe Cleveland looks to move on from him. He becomes available. Then Austin's definitely going to be a part of that. Or some other team or other superstar or star gets disgruntled and they want to get moved in the summer. A lot could happen. A lot could happen between now and the start of the season. You look at last year, Luka came out of nowhere. So a lot could happen. So we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. But again, if I had to put my money on it, I think Austin will remain. We'll see how that looks. I'm not worried about how it looks offensively. I think they'll be great offensively. They only played like 500 possessions together. We're talking Austin and Luka without LeBron. They played about 500 or so possessions together. So that's your starting backcourt. And they were in the 99th percentile scoring-wise, right? They scored a lot of points. So that works fine. The issue is defensively. That's the issue. I just don't see Austin or Luka working long-term together defensively unless you can build the right pieces around them. You go back to Dallas, right? Kyrie and Luka was in that was their backcourt. Now, that talent alone just trumps everything else. But, they put pieces around them. They had bigs to protect the paint, right? They had that last line of defense in multiple bigs, Lively and Gafford. They had PJ Washington out on the wings. They had other guys. So if the Lakers can do that, if you can get the other guys to surround them, then yeah, I'm all for it. But I just don't know if they can. With the assets that we have, it's real tight. It's real tight. And I for sure believe LeBron is going to pick up his option or sign a new contract. So he'll be on the roster next year. But my question, does he sign for 2 years? Is another 1+1? So if he does, again, that kind of dries up what you can do to build around Luka, yet alone Luka and Austin. You're just not going to have the cap space to build around those two guys. So I just don't know. I don't know. Like I said, if I had to put money on it, I believe he'll be here moving forward, to start the season. And then we'll go from there. We'll see how it looks. We see if they can improve. We see if they can put a couple of guys around them. And we'll see. But it dried out in the playoffs. It looked good down the stretch, but once you got into the playoffs, it dried up tremendously. We went home in 5 games. So I just think that's something that we can't do. We can't spend another year trying to see how this looks and it ends in the same result. You just can't do that. So it didn't work with D'Lo and Austin. It didn't work with Luka and Austin, because you lost in the playoffs. So I don't know, man. I just don't know. So we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. But again, they're not going to give up Austin just for anything. They believe in Austin. They love Austin. And if they're going to do it, then they want something in return. They want a lot back. They want a lot back in return, which again makes sense, right? Now, Dallas, our friends in Dallas. Can we strike up another deal with Dallas? So they're in desperate need of a point guard, whatever they do, whether if they draft Cooper Flag or if they move the pick and they go get Giannis, whatever the case may be, they're in desperate need of a point guard. Kyrie Irving is going to be out at least until, the next calendar year. We're not talking about next year at the start of the season. We're talking about next calendar year. And that's best case scenario. You'll get him back in January at some point. He may miss more time than that. So, and we saw that last year. They didn't have, even when they got healthy at the end, they just didn't have a point guard. You need someone to get AD the ball. You need someone to set up Clay and PJ Washington on those wings. You need someone to, you're going to need someone to get Cooper Flag the ball, right? If they draft him, even if Giannis is there, you don't want him having to be the playmaker for 40 minutes a night. So you're going to need someone to set him up and get him the ball. They're in desperate need of a playmaker. And the Lakers, what do we have? We got some playmakers. They got a surplus of bigs. We got a surplus of playmakers. Hey, maybe we can help each other out. Holla at your boy, Rob. Nico, get on the phone, man, and work something else out. I want to preface this by saying, I don't know how likely it is because all the backlash that Nico got, in doing the trade, maybe they don't want to do another deal with the Lakers, or at the very least, they got to make sure that everyone knows that they won the trade. So I just don't know how the Lakers can offer that, right? But, can we strike up another deal? Can we get Gafford in return for Gabe Vincent and, second round picks, some pick swaps, Dalton Connect, something like that? Can we do a deal like that? Can you expand that even further and maybe get Gafford and PJ Washington? Now, I think if you're doing that, again, Dallas wants to win the trade. So if you're doing something like that, you're probably going to throw in Austin Reaves there. And Dallas should have got Austin in the deal in the first place. So I just find it hard to believe that they'll turn around and do a second deal and don't get Austin, right? Even if you throw Dalton in there, I think that whatever they do, they're going to want they're going to want Austin, especially if you're talking about Gafford and like a PJ. But both of those guys would check some boxes for us, man. They would check boxes for us. You'll get that big, and we saw Gafford. The thing with Gafford is he does need to be paid soon. He's going to have to be paid. But I'm fine with taking a risk on Gafford because you saw how Gafford and Luka looked. We're not going into this blind. You saw how they looked, and they were one of the best pairings in all of the NBA last year. And that I'm not just talking about stat wise. I'm not just talking about regular season wise. I'm talking about NBA finals wise. They rode that pairing all the way to the finals. Now, of course, Lively was there also, so they kind of spelled one another. You played them both, but Gafford, led the entire NBA in field goal percentage, right? Because he was just getting so many easy shots with Luka, so many lobs and just shots around, around the rim with Luka Doncic, and I think that'll be the same here. Now he'll be the lone guy again in Dallas with Luka. He played 20 minutes a night. Here, I think he'll play around that a little bit more, 25 minutes maybe, 26, 27, 28 minutes a night. So how does that look? Will those stats look the same? Will that production look the same? I think so. I think I like Gafford. And I like him a lot more with Luka Doncic. That's the whole thing. This is with Luka Doncic. So it's not Gafford alone. It's Gafford with Luka. We saw how that looked. So could a deal get done there? Again, they need a point guard. We need a big. They got bigs. We got guards or playmakers. So let's see if we can work something out. So I think we're forever going to be tied to them with this trade, but let's see if we can strike another trade. I mean, obviously the relationship is there. Out of all the people Nico could have called, he called us, right? He called a couple other teams, Minnesota, Milwaukee. They both declined, but we gave them what they wanted. They wanted out of the Luka business, and we provided that for them. Nico believes in defense. Well, we gave them one of the best, defensive bigs. One of the top 10, top 7 defensive player in the NBA. At times, top 3 defensive player in the NBA in AD. So, maybe we could strike something up again. Again, the relationship is there. So let's see. But again, they need a point guard. We need a big. So we could help each other out again. So we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out. Other than that, I just don't, again, we talked about Claxton. I just don't know where else we get a big. There's not many bigs available in free agency. You got like Clint Capella available, but is Clint really? He's not what he used to be. I mean, he lost his job there in Atlanta, like straight up benched for a very good player in a Congo, but still he got benched. Is he that vertical lob threat? I just don't know. He's older. He's not what he was, a few years back. He was great, right? Before he got to Atlanta, he was great, right? He'll be perfect next to Luka. But is he that anymore? I don't know. I don't think he's that vertical lob threat anymore. He can still rebound the basketball. He can still block some shots. And I still think he can give you a double-double. I still believe he's an upgrade over Jackson Hayes. So if we had to go that route, if we strike out on everything else, we can't get a trade done, then, yeah, Clint Capella might be our answer. Steven Adams, I love Steven Adams, what he did in Houston, but I like Steven Adams as a backup. Not same thing with Capella. I like those two guys as backups, not as your starter. I like Gafford way more as your starter. I even like Claxton. I like Claxton and Gafford more than I like Adams and Capella. Adams or Capella as your starter. So I'm more inclined to try to get a deal done with those guys via trade as opposed to just signing someone. Again, I love them as backups. Love them as backups. If you could get Gafford and have Capella as your backup, I love that. Or if you get Gafford and have Adams as your backup, I still love that. Or Claxton and Adams as your backup, I love that. But just as a starter, I just don't know. And then again, I just don't know if the only thing that the Lakers have is that 5.1 taxpayer MLE, I just don't know how available those guys are. Now, Clint Capella, he made what, $20 million last year? He's not going to make that again. He's not going to make, I don't think he gets anywhere near that. Again, he got benched. But a non-taxpayer MLE, I think he can make that, or I think he can make, even if he doesn't make that much, I think he can make more than 5.1. So I think 8, 9, somewhere around there. I do believe he can make that. So, and same thing with Adams. Adams played very well in Houston. So some teams may want Adams, Some teams may even be willing to offer Adams a taxpayer MLE money, non-taxpayer MLE money, right? So I don't know if the 5.1 is enough to land Adams or to land Capella. So we'll see. And then, of course, you still got Jackson Hayes there. That's another guy I would want to bring back as a backup. You got his bird rights. He shares agencies with Luka Doncic. They have the same agency. So I do think that they look to bring him back. But trade-wise, you look at other guys. Miles Turner, I don't think he's realistic. I think he's going to stay in Indiana. So I think that ship has sailed. We had an opportunity to do it. But you look at Indiana, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. And, they have a strong chance of going all the way to the finals, right? Them versus the Knicks, that's going to be one hell of a series. And they could easily come out of that, especially seeing the way they've been playing. So why would they give up a Miles Turner? I don't see that. Again, never say never, but I don't see that. Now, out in the free agency wise, right? If we had the money to sign him, then yeah, maybe. LA is always an enticing place, right? And he's been enamored with LA. He's been wanting to play in LA, but I don't think he's coming to LA for $5 million. So, but again, I think he remains put. Walker Kessler, can we get something done with Utah? I mean, I don't know. If you do, Danny's going to try to fleece us, which means he's going to try to take everything we got, which is Austin, which is Connect, which is the pick and pick swaps and all that. He's going to try to do all that. Is it worth it? You're going to have to include something else in that just to make the money work, because Kessler's not making a bunch of money. So who's the other player that you're putting in there? Is it Sexton? Do we really have Sexton fit next to Luka? I mean, I don't really know. I don't think so. Or, is this someone else? I don't think it's going to be another young guy. Clarkson, is it a Jordan Clarkson? Maybe you can bring Clarkson off the bench. So you get a solid bench piece back in that deal. I don't know. I just don't know how available Walker Kessler is. But I'd love to have him. He's definitely at the top of the list. What about Toronto and Jakob Porto? But he's not really that vertical lob threat that you want to get Luka. Again, I'm trying to maximize Luka, right? We're trying to maximize Luka Doncic. Put complementary pieces around Luka. The pieces that have worked with him. And Jakob Poeltl, that type, he's not that. He's just not that type. He's not the type or the fit that Luka is used to. So, I mean, I don't know about that. Who else? Who else is out there? I don't know. Maybe someone becomes available. But we talked about Allen. That'll be a miracle. and again, we're going to keep believing. You got Luka out of nowhere. So anything's possible. Again, maybe Cleveland just looks to move on. But who else? Jalen Duren in Detroit? I don't think so. I think they'll re-sign him, and they'll keep that core together. That core, Cunningham, and Jaden Ivey. I think they'll keep those three guys together moving forward. So I don't know. Rob is going to have to get real creative. But again, he's limited with the assets. There's just not a lot of assets. You got Austin there if you want to go big. You got Dalton Connect. You got 1 first-round pick. You got pick swaps. You got 1 second-round pick. And you have expiring contracts. You got Rui Hachimura. You got Austin, if you want to include him in there. You got Maxi Kleber. You got Gabe Vincent. You got all those expiring contracts in there. You got Jared Vanderbilt, but I just don't think Vando. I don't see anyone trading for Vando. I think if you're going to move Vando, because he has a lot of years left on his deal, you're going to have to attach a pick to that. And the Lakers don't have extra picks to attach to moving a guy. So I think Vandal returns. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Rob got a lot of work to do because we cannot run it back. You can't do that, right? And you're not just a big away. You're big. You're big, and you need a couple of other pieces. So let's see how it shapes out. Let's see what they do. Yeah, let's see. All right, that's my time. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're watching a replay, comment down below. Let me know how you guys think. Would you love a Jarrett Allen? I'm pretty sure you would, right? Would you move Austin Reaves? And if so, who would you move him for? And do you think that we can strike another deal with Dallas, right? Or are there some other bigs, some other names out there that we're not mentioning? What about Kuminga? Kuminga had a hell of a series, right? When Steph went down, I think he said he averaged like 24 points, right? But do they bring him back? Do they get another deal done with Kuminga? Golden State, or could he be on the move? Could he be someone that the Lakers could, try to strike a deal on? I don't know. We'll see. Mitchell Robinson, that's another name in New York. But hey, New York, you can't. I don't know how much we can mention their guys being in trades because they're still in contention. They still have an opportunity to win a finals, right? So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, that's it. So comment down below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, we're here every day of the week, every weekday, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific. I'm your host, Lakers Over Everything. That's where you can find me at on all social media platforms. So tap in, and then we'll catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy the game tonight. We got basketball tonight, game 6 tonight between Denver and OKC. That's been an amazing series. OKC wins. It's a wrap. Denver wins. They force a game 7. So enjoy that. And yeah, we'll tap in with you guys. Until the next one, man, big blessings.